Hello, welcome to my tutorial briefly overviewing Skype NDI and slick transitions in Streamlabs OBS. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so as you can see, I created a couple of new scenes, new layouts, and I created a new transition just to show off for this video to show you guys how it's done. So I have this scene, which is just my face cam. I have a slideshow going. I have some stuff on the bottom. It's nothing, it's very primitive. Obviously, if you're making it yourself, you're going to flesh it out a little bit more, or maybe not. It really doesn't matter too much, as long as you have the information you need on the screen. Ha ha ha. I put a little laugh in my transition because I think it's funny. So I have this is the screen capture. This is where I'm going to show off how and where you get things. And ha ha ha. This scene is for showing off. There we go. This scene is for showing off Skype and how to use that, and that's what we're going to show off first. So let's just go back to my screen share. Here you can see what we're going to go for. We have Crowdfunding Comics, which is a great channel, and they use Skype and NDI in OBS. I believe they use NDI in OBS to capture everyone's individual little screen here. You're going to need Streamlabs. That's what I'm using right now to record this. So just click the download. The latest version I'm using is 0.15.1. Hey, real quick, before I get into the stuff I already recorded for this, I want to briefly go over some stream settings because I didn't cover this. After you download OBS, you can select which service you have. A lot of you are going to be using Google. There's also Restream.io and other things, other various services. What's important, you find your stream key. That is in your dashboard. It should be readily available somewhere on the top in one of the settings, or on the bottom. I believe it is on the bottom in your dashboard on YouTube, and on the top in your dashboard on Twitch. Somewhere around there. This is very important. Your output settings. I cannot change them right now. For video bitrate, while I'm recording, I use 12,000. For streaming, for HD, you're going to want to use between 5,000 and 3,500. Those could be a little trouble if you have terrible internet, but if you have really, really good internet and things are very good on your end, it's good to use about a 3,500. It generally works relatively smooth for good internet. If your internet is really bad, go for 2,500. That's low quality 720p. If that's your last resort, go for it. So just remember, important thing, 5,000 to 3,500 is HD. 3,500 and 2,500 is 720p. Make sure your settings are correct for that. If you are recording, you press this separate record button, then the go live button. Those are two different things. You can do both at the same time. Make sure you know which folder your recording files are going into. For record quality, same as stream. Video, you can do 1080p. This is important. So your canvas resolution, my canvas resolution is 1080p. Generally, you're going to want to change this to 1080p. I don't know why it's been recording at 720p. I forgot to change it. That's unfortunate. That's a little embarrassing to show off, but it's important. Look at that. That's terrible. Frame rate, go for 30. 60, you're going to need a much higher bit rate for it to actually matter if you're doing 60 frames per second. Don't do 60 frames per second. Go for 30. That's standard. Go for HD here if your internet can take it. Hotkeys. This is all the different hotkeys you can use. Advanced settings. Don't worry about any of this. You should be good to go. All right, let's get into the rest of the tutorial. You're going to also need this tool, which is NDI. Just look up OBS NDI. It should come up. Let me go back. OBS NDI should be one of the first results. Scroll down. Latest updates. 4.6.0 is the latest that I'm using right now. All right. Scroll down. Click on release page on GitHub. Scroll all the way down. OBS NDI 4.6.0 Windows installer.exe. It should be right down here. If you're using Mac, obviously you would use the Mac OS installer, so on and so forth. Next, you're going to need Skype for the desktop. Not the Skype app that they have on the Windows Store. The Skype app on the Windows Store will not work unfortunately. How do we create this? So to create a new scene, you click this button at the top. Remove a scene, click this button, your scene will go away. So that's that. Click here. These are transitions. We'll go into that shortly, but for now, we're just looking at this scene. Press the plus button. Scroll down. This should appear after you've installed it and restarted I think you have to restart your computer fully for this to work. But NDI sources should be right there. Click on that, add source. I have existing sources. Once you add a new source, it'll tell you that. So let's go into, that's actually another thing I got to get into. Once you add a new NDI source, like this is what I named me to, because it is me too. It'll list all the people in your call. So, and active speaker is probably what you're going to use if you have more than 8 people, or well, more than even 4 people, because you're not going to want to have a whole bunch of different boxes on your screen. So active speaker, it'll switch between all the people in your call. Now, you can also record yourself locally. However, you cannot have your webcam connected to 2 different apps at the same time. The people in your Skype call won't be able to see you. That could potentially be an issue for you, because if you you can't be running an empty voice Skype call. So you would have to run a Skype call with another person. If you're running a show with another person, you can actually just run your face cam through Skype and people can see your face. But what if everyone has to leave and you're left alone, your call ends and then you don't have, and then it's a little bit of trouble and finicky to get yourself back. That could be an issue, getting yourself back in this app. I believe once you close Skype, you could probably just go into the sources, but that's a hassle. And we're trying to make this as hassle-free as possible. Another workaround, just get 2 different cameras, one for Skype and one for you. Or you can go into Skype and you can screen share. So just share your screen. You can share whichever screen has your OBS in it, so that they can see your face or what's going on your screen live from Skype. That's another way of getting around it. There are a great many different things to do that. You probably shouldn't be spreading yourself too thin on that screen sharing if you don't have a great computer. But a good way to get around that is just get a better computer. Clint. Here's a good test to see if your computer can handle it. Go on to Bleeding Cool, and if your computer doesn't crash, you should be fine. So how do you get NDI to work with Skype? Well, there's actually a process to do that, and I believe everyone in the call has to do it, probably, I believe. Go to Settings, click up here in your Settings, go to Calling, and it's in Advanced. Allow NDI usage, check that box, and that should be fine. Now here's another thing that you have to worry about. Once you create an NDI, right down here, as you can see, it creates a new audio source for that, so you can mute and unmute it. You got to make sure if you have your webcam running from Skype itself, and it'll create a face cam NDI for that, and then you hear yourself twice. So you have to mute yourself in OBS. You can unmute people. You can turn people up and down from OBS. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And the cool thing is everyone's going to be named their Skype name. So you can have as many people as you want in different windows. Just create new NDIs. If you're in a different scene, you cannot record the Skype audio from people unless you add them into here. Add the source, NDI source, add source, and make sure you use active speaker. So you can have active speaker just so that you have everyone there. Now to make transitions. This is the fun stuff. This is the stuff I actually like. All right, here's the important fun stuff. Now that I'm getting into this is the stuff I like. This is video editing. And you can use this to make live transitions. So as you can see, I have a layout file for this. And then I have this laughing man face as a separate image that's laid out on top of here. So what it is actually a separate And then I have a shape layer underneath that, and that's what we're going to use to transition, just so that you know what it looks like. Let me show it off. And then I have obviously the audio, which is always fun. You can add a swish noise. You don't have to be as obnoxious as me. So what I did is I have this little effect here. It adds a little anticipation for the next action to happen. It's like a heartbeat. And then this comes up. What's important for this bit is that this covers up the entire screen, because this is where it's going to transition from. This is where it switches scenes. And then it comes back down to where it's supposed to be. And you're going to want to clear that off. You want nothing else except what's involved in the transition. It's very short, very sweet. It's a little over a second. You can have it shorter, you can have it longer. You can do whatever you want. You can have a CNN level transition. You can have a really intricate, cool, whatever you want. You could have text fly on the screen like breaking news. You can do anything as long as you can edit it as a transition. Now the most important part of this after this point is making sure, as you can see up here, everything around here is transparent. Now how do you export transparent video? Let's open Adobe Media Encoder. Now if you're not using an Adobe product, there are ways of exporting transparent footage or editing things like this. Other ways, I personally am using Adobe products because my college gives them to me for free, and I'm used to them. If you're using Sony Vegas, you can look up a tutorial on how to export transparent footage with Sony Vegas or any other software. You should be able to do it, I believe. I'm sure. I'm positive. Now, editing the footage itself, the two things you have to make sure is that at one point, your transition thing covers the entire screen, and it's cool. Everything else is up to you. You can be as creative as you want in OBS. So after you've gone out and you got a sandwich and Adobe Media Encoder finally decides to load, you're going to want to get your settings right. In Adobe Media Encoder, this is very important. So I have a preset. I'm going to show you the settings that I have for this. Definitely a QuickTime video. This is how you do this. QuickTime video, you want NTSC DV widescreen, of course. Scroll down, video codec, animation, and click this box. And that's pretty much everything. Make sure it's 8 BPC plus alpha and an animation. And that's pretty much all you need. Export it to whatever folder you need it to go into. File management is important. Make sure all your assets are in the same place so you can easily access them. And that's all fine and dandy. And then press export. Now I know what you're asking, but Henry, how do I put it in here? All right, I'll show you. Edit scene transitions. Now there's a slightly different way to do this in OBS Studio than in Streamlabs. It's better in Streamlabs. Use Streamlabs. It's OBS, but kind of better for streaming. And that's what you should be using it for. There's this, connections and transitions. Go to transitions, add transition. Name it. Make sure your naming conventions are good so you understand what is what, because that's going to be important for connections. Now you have cut, fade, swipe, slide, fade to color, luma wipe, and stinger. This used to be called transition. Now it's called stinger. That's what you're going to want to use. Choose the video file that you just exported and choose frame. And then whatever frame is completely covered, choose that frame. So it was about 30 for that. And then for audio, this how you get audio in your transition, monitor and output. And that way it'll play your ha 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 when it transitions. Let me just go over one of these. As you can see, it switches at the screen is completely covered at frame 24. Audio monitoring is off for this one because it doesn't have audio. You don't have to worry about it. How do you simply click on something and have it transition automatically? Normally what you would have to do is you click what transition you want, you go back, and then you click it. And then if you want to go to a new scene, we want to automate this. We want to make this as simple and easy as possible so you don't have to worry about anything. And that's where connections come in. Go to connections, add connection. Which scene are you starting at? And let's say it's tutorial to tutorial 2. Which transition do you want specifically for this? So you start here, you're ending here. Let me see if I'm making no sense at all. So let me give you examples. So from every single scene, it's going to be using this new transition. Let me change its name so that you can understand it better. So for every single scene, the transition name is haha when you press this. So no matter where you are, you can be up here in this face cam. If you press this one, it will use this transition. Now, if you have a specific transition, let me show you. Now, no matter what, when you press this transition or this scene, it will use this specific transition. It's automated. That's pretty cool. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. So this is a sort of tool that you can use to automate your streams. Instead of manually selecting things, you automatically switch. I have a BRB, where is it? Pre-stream, my be right back, and then no matter what, whenever I leave pre-stream, ha ha ha. Oh, that's an important thing I gotta do. When you go here, and you go to here, it has to work properly. Now, as you can see, when I go here and it closes, and I use that, it doesn't work properly because I didn't specify. Hey, sorry about that. You probably didn't know what I meant by specify because I didn't show up properly. So here's your transitions, here's your connections. What happened there was it didn't go from my be right back to, it didn't use the appropriate transition because going to tutorial 2 is above that. However, you can add a connection when you're leaving my be right back and using the proper transition to where it opens up instead of using the happy man. You have to specify that. That's what that means. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions or if anything I said there didn't make too much sense and you need clarification, I'm more than willing to answer that. It is a little strange and a little weird how a lot of this stuff works, but let me just show off to see if that worked properly. It closed, and yes, it did. So that's how it should work. Just so that we're clear. Alright, so now that we're done with the main 2 subjects I wanted to cover, let's go into the lightning round, where I'm going to quickly go over some very helpful things that are going to be very helpful. For one, making a layout in Photoshop. All you have to make sure of is, you can make this in any software by the way, all you have to make sure is that you leave spaces open for putting your camera under if you want the camera to be underneath a box or something. And really quick, if you have the artboard, get rid of that. You do not want an artboard there. Export it as a PNG and you're golden. Put it into Streamlabs. You go up to sources, image, and then add the source and then select whatever image you need. Image slideshow. This is another little thing. You press this, image slideshow. So if you go into the slideshow, as you can see, you have a whole bunch of different options. You can either add files, you can add individual files, or you can add directories. I recommend adding a directory. You can choose whatever folder you want to show files from, and then you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is put files in the folder. You can shape them however big or small you want. You have a set number of transitions here. You can't add your own custom transitions, unfortunately, otherwise I would do that. You can resize things. All you have to do is be in the editor to edit things. You can resize, make things bigger or smaller. Move them up and down, so now that's up top. Now you can't see it. Also, real quick, I want to show off window capture. So you just press this, click window capture. These are your options. You can choose whatever window you want. Window title must match. Match title, otherwise find a window of the same type. Match title, otherwise find a window of the same executable. Pretty self-explanatory. And you can pop out your chat, make it whatever size you want. So if you change the window size here, it'll actually change the size there, or you can adjust it a little bit. So there's 2 ways of adjusting your window size. And another important thing is filters, adding a filter to these windows. There it is. I have a filter on this where it crops 150 pixels up and 150 or 120 pixels down, just so that it cuts off this top part of the window and the bottom part, so that you just see the chat. So you don't need to see the rest of that. And you can crop it however you want. There's actually tools so that you can show the chat in OBS. You can actually add a source that is specifically the Twitch chat. That would be in widgets. That would be under here, chat box, and then this is a bit more customizable and different. This all depends on how deep you want to go into OBS. I pretty much showed everything you have to do to transition from your general Google Hangout streams into something a lot cooler than a Google Hangout stream. Here's another thing. Here's how I do my intros. So let me just click here. This is where my media source is, and here are all the options for that. It's a local file. You go into folder, you find it, and then you go down, restart playback when the source becomes available. So once you transition to it in the live feed, it'll start playing the video and the audio that's in the video. You can have it loop if you want. I mean, if you have a video that loops, you can do that. I don't do that for the intro. I just let it hold on the last frame. And to have it hold on the last frame instead of going to black, you uncheck show nothing when playback ends. And you can also speed up and slow down here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I made it for Sweetcast and Comic Artist Pro Secrets because I believe they have great personalities, they run great shows, but the production quality could be a lot better and they would benefit a lot from it. And I hope they do. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to answer. Have a good one.